Oops. My bad. Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. I was just listening to some
copyright-free rock music.
But the other day, I was listening to One by Metallica, and it got me thinking, what if I turned songs into Photoshop projects based on either my interpretation of the lyrics or the stories they tell? I was like, hey, wait a minute. This could actually work for this song and a bunch of other ones too. But we're going to stick with One for now, both figuratively and literally. So let's peel back the layers of this song and add them into Photoshop. This is Tune Up. So to begin this series on a admittedly morbid note, I gathered up all the photos I wanted to use, as well as a couple of reference pictures. I used these reference pictures to reshape the straitjacket to not only fit more of a male figure, but to straighten it out a little bit because it was slightly curved. I wound up alternating between warp and liquefy to get the effect that I wanted. Oh, and I also had to restart the program because liquefy kept crashing Photoshop. Because, why not? But once I got it into a shape that I was pretty happy with, I thought to myself, this looks less like a straight jacket and more of a straight cocktail dress, which isn't exactly what I was going for. Although I will admit, he does look fine.
Oh yeah.
So I wound up duplicating the jacket and warping certain areas to make up the rest of the body. I also duplicated some of the straps to make him look really restrained, like he's held there against his will. And to further add to this sense of being trapped and imprisonment, I added some chains around the character and dangled him from his feet. After touching up the subject as a whole with exposure, brightness, contrast, and all that good stuff, that part of the piece was pretty much done. But this is where I ran into problems. So when I was first listening to this song and thinking about how I wanted this piece to look, I thought I had a pretty good idea planned out of what I wanted it to look like, and for the most part, I did. However, when I was actually executing the sketch, I wasn't loving how it was turning out. My initial plan was to have these tentacles or tendrils coming in from the edge of the composition to represent darkness and death coming to embrace our character. But as I was working on it, the lighting wasn't great, and it looked very cartoony, almost like Ghost Freak from Ben 10. That was my initial reaction to seeing this. Maybe I should have added textures to the tentacles to turn them terrifying and translate my thoughts more transparently. But I didn't do that, so instead I decided to scrap the idea and try something else. My second attempt was to put a hospital scene behind our character, almost like to represent the real world. Like he's still alive in the real world, but trapped inside himself. And that didn't look good either, so I opted to put the real world in front of him and represent it in the piece as a bright white spotlight. Like he can see out into it, but he can't interact with it. And this looked a lot better. But then I also tried to add in like distorted images of war as like flashbacks of what he's been through, and it went right back to not looking great. So that was strike 2. Or 3, maybe? I'm not sure, I actually lost count at this point. In the end, what I wound up going with, besides the spotlight in the final piece, was to put military equipment on the ground around our character, but have it obstructed by shadow. So it was there, but really well hidden, like a suppressed memory lurking in the dark corners of your mind. I also added a shadow behind our character, because he's essentially hanging in front of what is essentially a bright white spotlight. At first I added a regular shadow like what you would see in a photograph, where it's just a silhouette of what you see. But then I decided, what if I make it look like a soldier? Kind of like a shadow of himself, a remnant of what he used to be. And honestly, I couldn't decide which one I liked better, so I saved both of them. I then applied the camera raw filter to both pieces, and this one project technically turned into 2 was complete. And that's pretty much it. My visual interpretation of One by Metallica. I actually really liked working on this project. I wasn't too sure with this particular idea to begin with. Not so much the song thing, but this song to start off with. Like I said, my idea wasn't as fleshed out in the sketch phase as I would have wanted it to be, and I had to do a lot of in-the-moment experimentation. But to take a song that I like and turning it into a visual project is a really cool idea and something I want to run with more in the future. But, like I said, I don't know which one I prefer, either the soldier shadow or the regular shadow, so tell me which one you guys like more down in the comments, and the winner will be up on display. Which brings me to the fact that I should probably mention that I now have a display in which you can buy metal prints of some of my works. So link of that to be in the description. I finally got that worked out, which is awesome. But other than that, feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and continually check out this channel and my Twitch, in which I do daily live streams, both art and gaming. Some art pieces which probably won't appear on this channel otherwise. But other than that, have a maximum day, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!